Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. It's Tori, and today we are going to be doing another brutal shelf by shelf unhaul because I have no space left and I could use another bookshelf. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through my shelves, and this is going to be kind of an interesting process compared to the last time we did this because I have done a really good job, I feel like, of paring down my collection to things that I genuinely want to read. Some of my previous unhaul videos, I've gone through my shelves and I've been really honest with myself about what I don't want to read and sent those books along. Most of what I have left are books that I do want to try and taste test before I let them go, just to make sure. Like, I have the idea in my head that I probably am not going to enjoy this book or I'm probably not going to love it, but I do want to give it a little bit of a taste test before I decide for sure. So we're going to go through my shelves. We're going to pull off the books that I know for sure are ready to go, and then I'm going to make a pile of books that are taste testers, books that I'm pretty sure I'm ready to let go of, but I do want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I do want to give them a little taste test before I send them on their way to a new home. So let's buckle up and get started on these shelves. All right, so we are actually going to start on my mass market paperback bookshelf first, because I do have a few books on here that I think I am ready to let go of, and I just figure it'll be easier to start over here and move to the big bookshelves. So this first shelf up here does have a couple of books on it that I think I'm going to let go of. The first one being R.A. Salvatore's Homeland, which is the first Dritz gateway entry point book. Now, I recognize that a lot of you guys are probably going to be frustrated by this or upset because I know a lot of people have been excited to have me read this. First of all, as long as I own it in a mass market paperback, I don't know that I'm going to want to read it. Second of all, this is a book that I feel totally comfortable getting from the library and giving a taste test instead of feeling like I need to read it. I feel like just because there's so many of you in the audience that really want me to read this book, I think let's do that. Let's put it in our taste test pile. Next up, we have Juliette Marillier's Heart's Blood. And why on earth am I getting rid of this? Well, only because I want to get it in hardcover so that it is easier to read, because I do want to read this still this year. And I am continuing getting rid of some of my mass market paperbacks so that I can replace them with larger books. Next up, we have these two Jane Lindskold books, Through Wolf's Eyes and Wolf's Head, Wolf's Heart. I read this probably 8 years ago and really enjoyed it, but I wanted to continue the series, and I have replaced both of these with hardcovers recently from thrift books. So I'm going to be passing on these mass market paperbacks to someone else. All right, guys, if I'm being totally honest, I'm not going to read this in mass market paperback format, and this is one that I feel like I can get from the library just as easily. So I will probably end up tucking this into one of my little free libraries around town because I do want to read this, but I'm really starting to get pretty honest with myself about the mass market paperbacks that I have left, because I don't know that I am going to read those at any point soon, just because I have such a hard time with the joints in my hands that mass market paperbacks are really difficult to read. So the reality is, if I haven't read this yet, I probably won't until I have a larger copy of it. All right, this shelf, I think we're going to leave alone. I don't think there's anything at the moment that I want to change about that one. And as I'm looking down at the shelf on the bottom, the only one that I'm honestly kind of going back and forth about is actually this Keigo Higashino book, A Death in Tokyo. This was okay, but I did not like it nearly as much as the Malice and Newcomer from the same series. This one, the ending felt a little bit convenient, and I did not like the setup as much as I enjoyed those first two, so I think I'm going to let this one go. However, other than that, I think this shelf is also good to go. Okay guys, we are over on bookcase number 1, and honestly, I don't know that there's anything up there that I feel like I want to get rid of at this point. This is my classics shelf, one of my classic shelves, and I feel like this one's pretty well curated at this point in terms of books that I still want to read and multiple versions of books that I already love. So we're going to leave that one alone. This shelf begins my fantasy section, and again, there's a couple of books that I want to taste test. This is honestly the one that I would say is in the most danger on this shelf. The Last Smile in Sunder City by Luke Arnold. This is one that I really want to try reading, but honestly, I don't know if I'm going to like it or not. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this book in our taste test pile, and what we're going to do with that pile eventually when we're done adding to it is I'm going to do like a read it or unhaul it final chance video with those books. But as you can see, I have no room up here for the books that need to fit on the shelf, so we're getting there. I mean, we'll see how much room we have at the end of this video. Okay, shelf number 3. I don't know that there's anything on here that I want to get rid of. Obviously, I have a giant stack of Malazan books that I have not gotten to yet. These are all E.N.C. Eslamont work. I haven't gotten there yet because I need to finish Malazan Book of the Fallen, and then I'm going to move into Eslamont's work. And I'm kind of waiting to see how my experience with Malazan ends up, because I'm still iffy about it after Midnight Tides. The only one I would say is a question mark on this shelf is Empire of Exiles by Aaron M. Evans. I really want to taste test this one. I think this is going to go in my taste test pile because I've owned it for years and I've never reached for it, which is kind of dumb because based on the synopsis, it's something that I would really like to try. So I think we're going to put it in the taste test pile, and we're going to force my hand a little bit here so that I actually try it to see if I actually like it. And if I do, it'll probably end up back on the shelf. All right, moving down to shelf number 4. Again, the only thing on this shelf that I am questioning at this point is this duology by Juliette Marillier, which Juliette Marillier is one of my favorite fantasy authors, and also, based on what I've heard about this duology specifically, there's a lot of content in here that maybe a rough read for me. Not necessarily that Juliette Marillier is handling it poorly based on what I've heard, but I just feel like I am going to have a hard time with these specifically. So I think what I want to do is put these in the taste test pile, the first one at least, and just kind of give myself a chance to see how I feel about it, read a little ways into the book, and if I like it, I'll leave them in my Juliette Marillier pile. If not, I'm going to move them on to a new home. This shelf is going to be really easy because it's primarily my Terry Pratchett shelf, and I'm not planning on getting rid of pretty much anything from Terry Pratchett. I also have some of my KJ Parker collection here. Folding Knife, I thought about, but I really like having this trio of standalones from KJ Parker, and I did like Folding Knife enough to keep it for now. We'll see. I am really excited to read The Hammer because I'm hoping that this one reaches the same level that The Company did for me, and I have heard amazing things about Purple and Black by him. When it comes to Terry Pratchett books, as you can see, I have built quite a good paperback collection for him at this point. The only one that'll be interesting to see is Pyramids. This is a standalone Discworld novel that kind of goes back and explores some of the ancient world and I think some of the deities within the Discworld. And I've heard a few things about it that make me hesitant in terms of what Terry Pratchett decided to explore in this book and whether or not it was historically accurate. We'll see if I end up having a harder time with that one. So I'd say Pyramids. Pyramids will be, you know what? I'm just going to do it right now. I'm going to put Pyramids in my taste test pile because I have suspicions about this one, that this one's not going to work for me, which gives me, I think, at least maybe room for one more book on this shelf. We'll see. But yeah, I have my Wizards, start of my Wizards series here, the Death Cycle. One of them is missing because I just finished reading it. And then a few standalones here, and then of course my City Watch collection, which will never be going anywhere because I love it so much. Alright guys, we are down to the bottom science fiction and fantasy shelf on this bookcase. And there are some books in this that are going to come off. And it is primarily from my Adrian Tchaikovsky collection. So the Final Architecture series, I read the first two. They were on my priority list for this year. I enjoyed Shards of Earth a lot. It was very character driven. We got like a Motley Crue vibe from it. And then Eyes of the Void went in a direction that leans more into that sci-fi kind of concept driven storytelling, which I don't like. I'm like, as soon as we move away from the character focus and into the big secrets of the universe that is sci-fi oftentimes, I just lose interest. That's not the kind of story that I'm interested in. As soon as you walk away from the characters and you focus on the vastness of space and all of that sort of thing, I just couldn't care less. And that is just me. That's a me thing. Which means that Lords of Uncreation, final book, the reason I haven't read it yet is because I have been hearing from people that what I didn't like about Eyes of the Void continues on and is expanded even more in Lords of Uncreation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this book in our taste test pile. I have a very strong assumption at this point that this book is probably not going to work for me, so I want to give it a try just because I'll feel better if I do. But I think that this trilogy is going to come off of my shelves. I don't feel the need to own it, especially if Shards of Earth is the only book in the trilogy that I really ended up liking. The other one that I'm going to get rid of from Tchaikovsky is The Doors of Eden. I haven't had this one very long, but I did page through it a little bit and kind of taste test it a while back, and I just wasn't really interested in the story that was being told. I think it leans it feels almost a little bit more YA sci-fi, which could be fine, but it's not really my thing. So I think that this one also is going to leave the shelf, which is exciting because that means that I can stack a bunch more of my Tchaikovsky books like so, and gives me a whole bunch more book room. Now granted, I am missing Fellowship of the Ring because I've pulled it because I'm hoping to start it this next month. However, there's still room here and we're going to celebrate that. So that feels really good, and I'm really excited to get into more of Adrian Tchaikovsky's fantasy books because I have a sneaking suspicion I'm going to gel with those better than his sci-fi, which is a bummer, and I didn't dislike reading his sci-fi. I think Tchaikovsky has some incredible concepts. He really does. But when he leans into the concepts more heavily than the characters, like, I want both. I don't want to lose one for the other, if that makes sense. This bottom shelf is going to be a little harder to see, and I'm not going to try to pull the camera down any farther because I would literally have to lay on the floor to talk to you guys about this shelf. So I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about. And this shelf isn't going to be... This one's not going to be crazy anyways. As I'm looking at this, I actually don't even think there's anything on this that I want to... Well... Okay. I take that back. This is not fantasy and sci-fi, by the way. This is other fiction. 5s and 25s by Michael Petra. I don't know. This, I think, would be a really, really good read. I think I'm going to put it in the taste test pile because it is modern military fiction, which is something that I do read on occasion, but it's not something that really draws, it's not a passion point for me in terms of like historical interest. But I do still want to taste test this one, but I've been holding back on taste testing it for a while, so I think putting it in the I need to read it or unhaul it taste test is the right choice at this point. I would say that's the only one from this shelf that I want to take off. Now that I'm saying that, this one is another option as a possible unhaul because, and I know this is going to make a few people upset because this is a very beloved novel, and I get it. I don't know about this one. I'm really going back and forth on True Grit because I like the story. I love Maddie Ross, the main character. And also there are some moments in here that really, really bothered me. And so I don't know if it's something that I feel the need to own per se. I don't know that I will read this again. I don't see this as being a book that I would reread, and even with, you know, having my kids read it someday or whatever, I'm really going back and forth on that simply because of a couple of the content moments in here that I felt like were pretty gratuitous and unnecessary. So yeah, this is one that I think I'm going to put in the unhaul pile for now because I just don't feel the need to keep it on my shelves. Okay. We are up to bookcase number 2, top shelf, which is more classics and poetry and reference materials. I have 2 copies up here of The Scarlet Letter, and I bought this one very recently because I really like the cover a lot compared to this one. And I like the font in this one better, so this one is going to move along to someone else because I don't need 2 copies of the same book. This is my husband's book, so I think I'm going to put it back on his bookshelf. Which means that, oh dear, those are going to fall down. I can put at least 1 book on the shelf. Yay! Hey, we got 1 book up there, guys. We're making progress. Other than that, I actually think this is also, these are also my husband's books. So I'm going to see if he has room for those on his bookshelf so that I can put my classics up there too. We do share a lot of classics together because that's an area where our interests overlap. But he has a lot more poetry books than I do. So we're going to leave that there for now, but I was able to put another book on the shelf, which makes me feel very happy. Okay, moving down to our first fantasy shelf on this bookcase. There's not a whole lot here that I feel like needs to go. I would say the only one maybe is The Wood at Midwinter by Susanna Clarke. I don't know. I think I'm going to put this one in my taste test pile because I don't know how I'm going to feel about this one. So we're going to put this one in the taste test pile and we'll get to that in a future video. Which honestly, that book is so tiny it doesn't actually help me make any more space. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. It's something. We got somewhere. Okay, next shelf. We have a lot of books on this shelf that I don't intend to get rid of. The only ones I would say, It Takes a Thief to Catch a Sunrise by Rob J. Hayes. I really love the Mortal Techniques series. Obviously, I talk about it on my channel all the time. And I skipped out on Where Loyalties Lie, which is his like pirate fantasy book. That one did not land for me. So I kind of want to taste test this one and just see if I like it or not. And if I do, great, I'll put it back on the shelf. If not, then make some more room for something else. Does this mean we can fit? No, we can't. Ah! There is a book-shaped space here, you guys, but it's not the right size for me to be able to put Northern Wrath back on the shelf, which is such a huge bummer. Oh well, it's fine. You know, another series that I'm kind of waiting to see how I feel about it. I'm not going to unhaul it or anything, but I have read the first book and I have the next 2, and I'm going to be very interested to see where I land on this series particularly and whether or not this is one that I end up wanting to keep. Sorry, there's not a lot of room here, guys, so you're going to get like a really good close-up of my face here, and I'm going to block some of the books. This is my display / favorites shelf, so these are not going anywhere. This is one of my special editions areas, and the only thing that's going to be coming off of this shelf is the Raymond Feist Magicians trilogy. I think these books are absolutely beautiful. I've only tried one Raymond Feist book before. I DNF'd it. I really did not like it. I've heard better things about this series, but I honestly probably won't read it if it's special edition. I don't know, maybe. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like, I don't know. This one I'm still percolating on. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to keep it or not because I would really, really like to try these at some point. Maybe should I put this in the taste test pile? I feel like I should. I feel like we're gonna do that because otherwise I'm going to stew about it for months and nothing's going to change. I do love these books. Like, they're absolutely stunning. So if I absolutely loved Magician, I wouldn't be mad about it. But I think this is a series that I should taste test and figure out for sure if this is something that I want to keep. Which means that while we're deciding on that, I can bring my new Kickstarter omnibus of the Northern Rosard series by R.E. Holding down here with the other special editions, which will make us a whole bunch more room up on that shelf, which is great. And I could actually potentially put another special edition here if I have one that will fit. So we're going to keep an eye out for that as we're going through the other shelves, and I'm really excited that I have room now down here. Okay guys, this is the last sci-fi fantasy shelf on this bookcase, and there's not much here that I feel like I need to get rid of. Do I really need to have 3 copies of Sword of Kaigen? No, I have 2 special editions of this now and the paperback. But I kind of like having the paperback because I do read my special editions. I'm not completely hands-off with them, but I don't know if I'd want to annotate this at some point, and if I do, I don't want to do that in my special editions. So I think we are going to put that back in. Oh, this goes with the book that I got as a gift. So I'm going to put that back in there. Okay, other than that, this is another one, another special edition that I am waffling on. I'm not an anthologies person typically. I do want to try this though. I think I'm going to put this in my taste test pile because I've almost pulled this off for an unhaul like twice. And I feel like I need to actually make a decision and live with it on this book. And I don't know that I'm actually going to be able to do that without just taste testing it and forcing myself to page through some of these stories and decide if I actually want to keep it. Okay guys, this is about as good as we're going to get for this bottom shelf. There's not a ton on this shelf either that I want to get rid of. I think the one that I will pull is Shelterwood by Lisa Wingate. Hi. So this one has to do with a true crime story, but it's fiction, but it's like a true crime fiction. I think the content in this is something that while I am interested in reading it, I'm a little worried that it's going to be more than I really want to fill my head with at this point. So I think this one's going to be an unhaul. Another book that needs to go in the taste test pile is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I've really gone back and forth on this one. I have no idea what this is really about. I really want to try it, but I don't know that I'm going to pull it off the shelf unless I have a reason, like a video, to do that. So I'm going to put this in our taste test pile, which is actually getting a little bit tall at the moment, which is actually exciting because that gives me more options when I come around to do that Read It or Unhaul It video, and I'll probably let my patrons vote on which ones I start with, so that'll be fun. Okay, I think I can put at least maybe. Okay. Cool. We got a couple books fit into the pile now, so I think cool. All right, let's move on to the next shelf. Okay guys, I had to get the stool because it's just going to be easier to see you all and reach these books. This is my nonfiction, memoirs, etc. There are a few books on here that I think I'm ready to take off. Okay, the first one we're going to pull is Grandma Gatewood's Walk. This is a book that I think sounds interesting, but in reality I will probably never get to it. And I have a friend who actually walked the Appalachian Trail that I'm going to give this to because I think he would be a lot more interested in it than I will. So I'm going to unhaul that one, which is great because that means that I can put this book in here so that it's not falling off the shelf, which will be great. Other than that, I think this is one that I'm trying to decide on too. I can't talk. Escape from Camp 14, which is the story of Shin Dong-hyuk, I believe is his name, yep, who was born in a North Korean prison camp. I don't know. This one I'm waffling on. I think I'm going to keep it up here for now, but that is one that I'm trying to decide if I want to keep, because I do have 2 other North Korean defector memoirs that I would recommend sooner than that one, if that makes sense. This is one that I would have a hard time recommending to people who weren't already really passionate about that topic and had already read some books on it. It is very heavy, so I'm kind of back and forth about that one. Yeah, the only other one that I'm kind of debating on is Endurance by Alfred Lansing, the story of Shackleton's voyage down to the Arctic. I don't know that I'll reread this. I don't know. Maybe. That'd be kind of interesting. The other thing is, this is something that I could potentially see my son being interested in when he's a little older, because he's also curious about survival stories. So maybe I will keep it for now. I think, well, okay, hold on. This is also, This Too Shall Last by KJ Ramsey. I think this has some really good, this is like a nonfiction book about finding grace when suffering lingers. I think it has a lot of good things to say. I don't know that I'll read it again. I don't know that I need to keep it, so I think that one's going to go in the unhaul. Does that mean we have space for something? Oh my gosh, guys, do we have space for something? Can I put Band of Brothers up here? Could I do that? Look at that. Oh, that makes me so happy. I wish I had even more room, because if I could eliminate the need for all of that, that would be great. But I can't yet, so we're just gonna go with it. Next, we have back to the science fiction and fantasy shelves. So I'm gonna pull Kings of the Wild. This is a book that I really enjoyed a few years ago, but even when I read it then, I was kind of frustrated by the way the female characters were portrayed, written, described, etc. And I think if I read it again now, I would have even more of a problem with it. So I think this one is going to be one that I will end up unhauling. I had a good time with it when I read it. I don't want to reread it, and I think reading it again, I would have more issues with it. Here's the other one, guys. I've been putting this series off for years. I've owned it for a long time, and I feel like this one needs to go in the taste test. I feel like this is a series that I really need to decide whether or not I want to read this or not, and I don't know that I'm going to get to it unless I put it in a stack and I expect myself to, with a catalyst like the video we're talking about. So I think this series is also going to come down off the shelves, and I'm going to try the first book and see if I like it, because there are some things that I've heard about this series that I think I will really enjoy, and some things that I might have a big issue with. So we're going to give it a try because I really want to read this series, and I'm going to force myself by putting it in the pile. Look at all that room, you guys. Oh, that makes me so happy. I can put the Keeper 6 here now. And we'll come back to that space later, because now I have some room to put some books that I didn't have space for before, which is great. But let's move down to the next shelf. So on this shelf, what do we have? I don't know that there's much I want to take off of this shelf. There is one. There is one. Last Contract of Isako. I read it. I am glad that I read it. I had a good time buddy reading it with my friends. There were some things at the end of this book that I didn't love. I didn't love aspects of the ending. I didn't really connect with Isako the way that I was hoping I would in the first half of the book. So I think this one is going to move on to a new home. All right, guys, we are down to these 2 shelves. On this one, I don't really think there's anything that I want to take off. I'm pretty happy with this shelf. Anything I haven't read, I'm still really excited about reading, so we're going to leave it up there. Down here on the next shelf, this might need to go on our try it. I don't know if I'm going to like this or not, and it's been too long since I said I was going to try it. So I think these are going to come off the shelves into my try it pile. These 2 I never finished Queen of Fire, book 3 in the Raven's Shadow trilogy by Anthony Ryan, because I really didn't like the direction it went. And this goes back to Valen's perspective, I think, who's the main character in Bloodsong, which I absolutely loved. So I think I am going to keep these for a little bit longer because I don't know. I don't know if I can read these without having finished Queen of Fire. I don't know. We'll find out. But I'm going to put these on the Anthony Ryan stack and make some more room on this shelf. You get Bloodsong on there as well. I probably shouldn't put the paperbacks underneath the... It's just that I'm going to read these sooner, probably. Yeah, let's do that. That gives me a little bit more room. A Woman of the Sword is going to go in my try it pile. Try it or unhaul it. We got to get serious, you guys. Like, if I'm gonna get these, I need to actually... I'm going to actually read these and figure out if I actually want to keep them or not. Because so many of these books in my try it pile now have been sitting there for ages. And I just say, hey, I really need to try that. And then I don't. So we're going to fix that. All right, the last bookshelf for this bookcase has, as you can see, a problem. This one has fiction, some nonfiction, but mostly other fiction besides science fiction, fantasy. As you can see, I have a bunch of books here that don't fit on the shelves, and I do have a little bit of room that I made down in the shelves below, so we're going to take advantage of that. But gosh, I don't know, you guys. I don't know that there's much here that I want to pull. A Man Called Uva into the try pile. This is something that I should have read like 2 or 3 years ago and haven't yet. So that's going to go in the test it pile. Once We Were Brothers is one that I have a bookmark in it. I literally started this book and never finished it. That's going in the test it pile. Other than that, D. Brown. Let's see if I can... My goodness. That's so exciting. Carissa Chen would go here. We're getting through our pile, guys. We don't have that much left. That's exciting. I think most of that will fit based on the room that we made on the other shelves. Lord of the Silver Bow is another one that I really should have read by now. We're going to try it. We're going to put it in the try it pile, which is now massive. Let's see, Hazel Gaynor can go here. Nope, that would also go on the bus. So that is, yep, we're going to leave it there for now. I have a lot of books in my try it pile. So we're gonna call it quits there, and we're gonna move to my manga shelves. I'm not gonna do much with. Those I've curated pretty well how I want them. But I'm gonna look quickly at my YA shelves because there might be a couple books on there that I'm ready to move on. All right, guys, so you get the unofficial Tori's just holding the camera at this point. Nothing up here that I want to get rid of. Down here, however, I'm going to pull this Kate Glass trilogy. After rereading the synopsis, I just don't know that this is going to be something I want to read. And I think YA I'm getting very, very picky about now. So I think these are going to be unhauled. I don't think there's anything I want to get rid of on this shelf at this point. And down on this shelf, the only one that I think could be a possibility is House of the Red Fish. This is, I love the series that this book is in, but this book specifically I didn't like. So I think we're going to let that one go as well, which means that we will have room for something else, which is great. But I think that that is the last shelf. So I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see this. I also added The Shawshank Redemption by Stephen King. This isn't something that I feel the need to keep either after reading it. But this is, oh my goodness, my unhaul stack. So we'll see if I can do this without dropping them everywhere. You can see I have a pretty big stack of unhaul, which feels great. I did decide with the final architecture, I think I'm just gonna unhaul it, you guys. I might flip through the first few pages, but I I actually like opened the first couple of pages shortly after finishing book 2 and put it down. So I think I'm just gonna trust my gut and I'm gonna let that series go to a new home. Okay, now here's the fun part. If you stayed with me this whole time, I want to give you guys in the audience a chance to help me pick a couple of books that I will include in my Try It or Unhaul It video first. Okay, so I'm going to list very briefly all of the books in the Try It pile, and then you guys down in the comments put in your vote for one book, just one, that you think you really want me to try, that you think I need to give a chance first. And I will tally up all of the votes right before I make my Try It or Unhaul It video for this pile of books, and I will include like the top 1 or 2 books that you guys vote for in that first video, and then I will let my patrons decide the rest. Troy, Lords of the Silver Bow. Once We Were Brothers. Oh, that was by David Gemmell, by the way. Once We Were Brothers by Ronald H. Balzan. A Man Called Uwe by Frederick Bachman. Magician by Raymond Feist. The Pariah by Anthony Ryan. The Forgetting Moon by Brian Lee Durfee. A Woman of the Sword by Anna Smith Spark. The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. The anthology When Swords Fall Silent, which was created by Wraithmarked, edited by Bryce O'Connor. It has Michael Sullivan, Marie Brennan, Andrew Rowe, David Dalglish, R.J. Barker, Jonathan French, Peter Flannery, Bryce O'Connor, Luke Chmalenko, M.L. Wong, Philip C. Quing-Trell, J.A. Andrews, Jay Boyce, and Terry Mancour in it. So, next we have Homeland by R.A. Salvatore. We have Pyramids by Terry Pratchett. We have Fives and 25s by Michael Petra. We have It Takes a Thief to Catch a Sunrise by Rob J. Hayes. The Wood at Midwinter by Susanna Clark. Last Smile in Sunder City by Luke Arnold. And then the last 2 are Wolfskin by Juliette Marillier and Empire of Exiles by Aaron M. Evans. So let me know down in the comments, and feel free to put like your top 3 if you want to. I will probably only count the first book you choose, but I want to know what you guys think too, and I want you guys to have a little bit of a say in what I end up reading for my Try It or Unhaul It video. So that was a lot of work. It's not as much work as rearranging the shelves, so I can't complain too much, but there are stacks of books all over my floor yet again. You know, it's a problem I am willing to accept, honestly. There are a lot more problems in my life that are much worse than having piles of books in my room. And with all the stuff going on with updating books and AI and everything else, I am getting less and less concerned about owning a large physical library, because I personally believe that having a large physical library in the future might not be a bad idea. So anyways, I hope you guys are having a fantastic week. Thank you for hanging out with me while I truck through my shelves and figure out what I want to read or get rid of. I hope you are having a fantastic week. I hope that you are reading some 5-star reads, and I will see you in the next video.